Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you are watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with another update coming out for the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got a very big lineup of news to brief you all on today. So today's date is June 10th, 2025, and it's Tuesday. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. We've got a lot of major news to cover in this war, as last night the Russians launched a massive attack onto Ukraine. Over 300 drones and missiles combined attacking all across Ukraine, but primarily we've got lots of reports coming out from the capital of Kyiv and also the city of Odessa down in southwestern Ukraine, heavily bombarded by Russian drones. This is a picture coming out last night from Kyiv. As you can see, multiple fires here that were started due to a lot of these drones crashing into, again, civilian buildings. So let's take a look at this report here on your screen. Russia launches a massive drone and missile attack on Ukraine's capital, Kyiv. Kyiv's military administration said that at least 4 people were injured. The majority of the damage was sustained by civilian infrastructure, stated by the administration in a post on Telegram. Yeah, so from what I'm hearing, dozens of people being injured. Potentially, we have some deaths last night inside of the capital of Kyiv, but for sure down in Odessa, we had reports of 2 men that were actually killed in these drone attacks last night. So absolutely horrendous attacks. I've got several videos I can show you guys of drones smashing into buildings across Ukraine last night. So a lot of people not getting very much sleep and were being terrorized once again by the Russians, as it seems like Russia is not done retaliating for what happened last weekend, as we had strategic bombers being blown up at multiple airfields in Russia when Ukraine carried out Operation Spider's Web with FPV drones. So we also have reports today that Ukraine launched a pretty massive drone attack into Russia last night as well. For sure, over 100 drones entering into Russian territory. And out in the Republic of Tatarstan, we have the city of Yelabuga, and we have a Russian Shahed factory over there that was reportedly attacked and possibly even blown up. I can't confirm it completely yet, but we've got video footage of a major explosion over there, and drones were definitely entering in the area to go after that drone production facility. So let's jump into the news, guys. We've got a lot to cover today. We'll hop on over here next with Volodymyr Zelenskyy, the president of Ukraine. Russian missile and Shahed strikes drown out the efforts of the United States and others around the world to force Russia into peace. For yet another night, instead of a ceasefire, there were massive strikes with Shahed drones, cruise and ballistic missiles. Today was one of the largest attacks on Kyiv, Odessa, Dnipro region, and Chernihiv regions were also targeted. In total, Russia used 315 drones in the attack, including 250 Shaheds, 7 missiles, 2 of which were North Korean-made ballistic missiles. Residential buildings and urban infrastructure were damaged. In Odessa, even a maternity hospital became a Russian target. So I've got a video on that in just a little bit. 13 people were injured. Tragically, there are fatalities. My condolences to the families. It is vital that the response to this and other similar Russian attacks is not silence from the world, but concrete action. Action from America, which has the power to force Russia into peace. Action from Europe, which has no alternative but to be strong. Action from others around the world who called for diplomacy and an end to the war, and to whom Russia has ignored. There must be strong pressure for the sake of peace. Okay, so major statement from Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Here's pictures coming out showing firefighters trying to put out all these fires. I mean, it seemed like all of Kyiv last night was just burning. I mean, there was a lot of Shahed drones that were not shot down this time around. Ukraine shot down a good majority of them, but at least 50 or more were striking their targets across Ukraine. So this is just showing some of the destruction. Here's somebody that had to be saved on a stretcher, probably injured in one of these attacks. And here's another fire that broke out. Looks like we had some cars and potentially a building that was destroyed. So now let's move on to Nate Mook. Kyiv is under one of the worst attacks of the war as Putin steps up his nightly terror bombings on Ukraine with Iranian drones and ballistic missiles. Innocent families and children will die tonight. The only way Putin stops is if we help him. So here's the air raid alerts map last night. You can see air raid alert map of Ukraine as of June 10th at 1:34 a.m. Okay, so in the middle of the night, look at all these drones and missiles attacking all these different regions. Looks like mostly like central Ukraine was being targeted, but we know for sure Kyiv, Chernihiv, and Odessa as well was being targeted as well. But at the same time on this map, it's not really showing Odessa region being lit up yet, but this might have been a map that came out a little early. We know for sure there was some strikes over there, but pretty much every region in central Ukraine was being targeted with drones and missiles last night. Now for Bliskovka, this is what Kyiv looked like last night. During the Russian attack, 4 people were injured, damage was sustained. Darnitsia district, fires, destruction of residential buildings, falling debris, and a forest belt of fire. Obolonsky district, damaged houses, fire in an office, debris in the open. Holosivsky district, debris of the territory on the territory of a non-residential building. Desnyansky district, a car caught fire due to falling UAV. Sevchenkivsky, fires in residential buildings, and Podilsky district, damage to non-residential premises. So my apologies, guys. Some of these are hard to pronounce, but I tried my best to pronounce these different districts over here inside of Kyiv. But these are just pictures coming out showing the fires that also broke out in these different districts. And some of these are not. Some of these fires are not just due to drones crashing into buildings. Many of these are drones that are shot down. The debris falls to the ground, maybe crashes into a building or strikes a tree or a car or something. Then we've got more fires breaking out. So here's a horrible photo right here showing a direct strike from a Russian Shahed drone on a building over there just in the back. We can see a massive fire that broke out. So very sad to see this, guys. We got more videos and pictures here. Now from Victoria, Russians target homes, people's homes. Explosions never end. Walls are shaking. Update. Russians hit a school in my area. No, nobody's hiding there. Kyiv is far from the front lines. Here's a 17-second clip. You're going to see a fire here and then also another direct hit in the distance next to this fire with another Shahed drone. Take a look. All right, so very horrible to see this, guys. A massive fire here inside of Kyiv last night, being attacked by numerous drones. And many people were stating that these were some of the largest attacks that have ever been seen inside of Kyiv till this date. And many times there was explosions just minutes apart. You know, within a couple minutes, there was another explosion. So many of these drones were just striking back to back over here. Now from Maria Drutska, SES helicopter is used to extinguish fires after enemy strikes in Kyiv. So there's like a video here of a helicopter that was landing, actually. We'll roll it back a little bit. It was landing over here in the Dnieper River to collect some water to carry over into the city and help put out some of the fires, as pretty much all throughout the night, the whole city was burning. And still till today, they're trying to put out many of these fires of these homes and civilian infrastructure that has been destroyed. So now from Vicegrad 24, Russia's suicide drone strikes a residential building in Kyiv. Russia's launched more than 500 suicide drones and missiles at Ukraine over the past few hours. It's the largest attack so far this war. So this report was coming out, prior to Ukraine even claiming how many drones were entering into their territory. So as far as I know, it was not 500 drones. It was actually 315 or so that was entering into Ukraine. So just take that message there with a grain of salt. But we've got a 6-second clip here that's going to show a Russian drone crashing into somebody's building over here. All right, just a quick clip, but very frightening to see that Shahed drone just smashing into a residential building full of people. I mean, look at all these cars here. These are people that are inside these buildings trying to sleep, and we've got these drones just hammering these buildings. Hopefully nobody was injured in that strike as it directly struck that building. Now from Maria Drutska, Kyiv, 7 districts sustained damage after Russia's attack. There are reports of partial destruction and fires in residential high-rises and private homes. Cars and warehouse facilities were also set ablaze. Got more pictures here of damage to lots of different cars just parked out on the street after these Shahed drones were just exploding onto buildings. You can see right here crashing right into what looks like maybe a business there or the entrance to an apartment building. And we had cars right outside just being damaged here. So very crazy. Now from Irna, outside the window currently, and they put hashtag Kyiv. Okay, this was inside of Kyiv last night also, and they were just recording right outside their window, and you can see multiple fires here that broke out in the city. So again, these fires were burning all through the night into the day today after all these strikes were being carried out onto Kyiv last night. So very horrible. Now from World Source News 24/7, breaking another direct Russian drone hit in Kyiv, Ukraine. Okay, you're going to see another drone smashing into a high-rise building as well in this video. Very frightening. Take a look. All right, how terrifying that must be, right? I mean, they just witnessed another drone crashing there towards the ground at the bottom of that building. Soon after, they hear this other one coming in, and you see they're ducking, hoping that it's not going to crash into their building where they're at, and it slams into that other high rise building just to the left of this window where this woman is recording. So, absolutely horrifying videos coming out from Kyiv last night. Now, from Ozen Technical, the aftermath of the Iranian designed a Russian built attack drone hitting an apartment building in Ukraine's capital of Kyiv. Okay, you can see destruction of this building. Take a look at this.
Жесть. Тачки вкусные.
All right, so this is probably damage to one of these high rise buildings taking direct hits from a Russian Shahed drone. I mean, look at how powerful these things are, destroying the cars here on the ground as well. And that whole side of that building just completely gone from this Shahed drone crashing into it. Now, for more translated, this is what the former UK Visa Center in Kyiv looks like after being damaged by a Russian attack. The building was hit during a massive overnight strike, which affected multiple districts in the city. A fire broke out at the site, but emergency responders have since extinguished it. Okay, the fact that this building has connection to the UK, or at least formally it did, it was a Visa Center in Ukraine, on the capital of Kyiv. We just heard, what was it, yesterday and the day before, actually, that Russia's been consistently, they've been blaming the UK that they're involved with these attacks on the airfields. So I wonder if Russia directly went after this building just to send a message to the UK that, they know that the UK is involved here, or whatever it might be. I mean, Russia's been accusing them of being involved in the attacks on these airfields. So just pretty crazy to see them going after this building that's connected to the UK as well. This was massive damage here to the sides of it as it was hit by probably multiple direct hits by the Russian drones that were fired over here. So we can see these crews over here already started to clean up the mess and try to repair this building. Absolutely insane. Now, from World Source News 24/7, breaking another direct impact in Kyiv from Russian drones. Numerous fires are burning in the city. The drone attack is still ongoing. Here's another 5-second clip. Take a look at this.
Еще один.
All right, so we got another direct impact here from another Russian Shahed drone slamming into what looks like maybe another smaller building over here on the ground or the side of this larger building that they're kind of zooming in on. We can see all that fire and that blaze there from this destruction of this drone. Pretty nuts. Now, from Jay in Kyiv this morning after Russia's all-night missile and drone attack. This is video coming out from Kyiv this morning, okay? I mean, look at the amount of the smoke everywhere here. Looks like the video was pausing for a second, but take a look at this as they pan around. I mean, the entire city was on fire, it seemed like. There were so many buildings that were hit. As far as I know, there was more than 50 drones that were not shot down. So a lot of these were definitely attacking Kyiv, and we had multiple strikes, probably 20, 30 plus strikes just inside of Kyiv last night. That's why we've got all these massive fires that have broken out. Can't even see the skyline anymore because it's covered in smoke. Very sad to see. Now, out of Odessa, from Vicegrad24, breaking, a Russian suicide drone has struck a maternity ward in Odessa. The building is now on fire. Now, see, this is what we see from the Russians, that, they just go after civilian infrastructure left and right. This is a maternity ward, guys. I mean, why would Russia go after this? We've seen them slamming a lot of hospitals, especially in the south and eastern sides of Ukraine. Lots of hospitals being destroyed all the time, and especially in Odessa. This is something we've seen numerous times, even out of the city of Kursk. So this building was on fire here, and we've got another picture as well we can show you guys. Here's a photo from Kate from Kharkiv. Russia targeted a maternity hospital in Odessa tonight. Read that again. Yeah, so take a look at this. There's a window that was blown out here. It looks like, was this potentially a table or something? Or they had some sort of sign here that got blown over after this window was destroyed. And we've got one of the workers in here, the nurses that were cleaning up the mess from the window being blown out from these drones attacking this hospital. So crazy. Here's a video as well, 14 seconds.
Это пизда. Просто пиздец.
So this is video footage coming out from southwestern Ukraine in the city of Odessa, right near the Black Sea. And so supposedly we had this maternity ward that was being attacked. I'm not sure if that's the video footage we're looking at here, but otherwise, I mean, look at the destruction here from all the Russian Shahed drones slamming into this area as well. So very sad to see that, guys. Let's move on to another one now from Bliskovka. 2 men were killed in Russian shelling of Odessa, reports Prosecutor General's office. At night, the Russians used more than 10 drones in the city. 5 women and 3 men were injured. Residential buildings, a maternity hospital, an emergency medical station, a private medical clinic, sports complex, a zoo, a railway station building, and cars were damaged. I mean, look at the amount of civilian infrastructure being targeted here. I mean, why would Russia go after a medical clinic? Why would they go after a zoo, a railway station? I mean, the Russians just really don't care. They want everything inside of Ukraine being destroyed. Look at all the destruction here to people's homes. Also, cars out on the streets, rubble everywhere. Massive destruction across Ukraine, especially in Kyiv and Odessa last night. Again, these were pictures coming out from Odessa, and unfortunately, we had 2 men being killed in these attacks last night. Now, from Ukrainian Review, Russia used Shahed drones with shrapnel during the attack on Kyiv today, according to Yuri Ignat. He's the spokesperson for Ukraine's military. And shrapnel is used to hit large areas, including not only equipment and cars, but also people. So this is like a picture showing shrapnel that is being found inside of the warheads of the Shahed drones and any of the drones really that are attacking into Ukraine. We know the Russians put all kinds of stuff in these. Sometimes they put nails in them as well to cause maximum damage to any civilians once these things explode. I mean, just absolutely brutal what we're seeing the Russians do to Ukraine. Now for Max 25, do not stand near the windows during the work of mobile fire groups against Shahis, even if shots are heard from afar. The bullets are flying around the city, according to Military Flash. A machine gun bullet can fly several kilometers and poses a serious danger. These are pictures coming out showing civilians inside of Ukraine that are finding bullet fragments just landing maybe inside their homes, lodged in walls. Here's one that was found, looks like inside of concrete or something. These are the bullets that the Ukrainians use to try to shoot down the incoming drones that enter into Ukraine. And yeah, many times, imagine these bullets are just flying everywhere. Whenever they're missing these drones, they continue on. They might land, crash into somebody's house. So that's obviously a danger too, right? I mean, not only you got to worry about drones entering, but we got these bullets flying all over the place because they have to use these to try to shoot down the incoming drones. So very scary. Now from Jimmy Rushton, he's got my name. I've lived in Kyiv for 3 years. This is probably the biggest Russian drone attack the city has experienced in my time here. Shahed drones are exploding everywhere. Yeah, so that's what some people were reporting, that there was just literally drones exploding every few minutes while these attacks were taking place. So he's stating he's been there for 3 years, basically since the start of the war almost, and he's stating this was one of the largest attacks on the city, and that's what's being reported, at least in terms of damage. Now, Kyiv has been attacked many times, especially with missiles, but just these drones alone, there was a lot of them this time around for some reason that did not get shot down, and it's probably because the Russians launched massive waves just onto Kyiv alone, and maybe their air defense teams couldn't bring all these down just because there were so many overwhelming their air defense teams. Now from Jay in Kyiv, last night's drone attacks on Kyiv and Odessa, and the fact that the number will likely double by August should finally be a wake-up call for the Baltics. Thousands of drones every night on Riga, Tallinn, and Vilnius is coming within a couple of years. Unless Ukraine is finally allowed to really hit Russia, it's all coming. Yeah, it's something to think about. Imagine if this war ends with Ukraine, whether Ukraine, loses to Russia or not, or maybe this war comes to an end, hopefully peacefully, if they're able to come to some sort of agreement, that being Russia and Ukraine. Next up could be the Baltics, could be Finland. We keep hearing these reports that Russia might attack a NATO nation at some point, and Russia clearly does not want NATO on their borders. They've said that many times, and maybe we could see that happening in the future. Maybe not, but still, it's a warning to NATO that Russia could be ready for war in the future with them. Now for Noel Reports, Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha urged immediate, powerful new sanctions against Russia following one of the most massive airstrikes of the war overnight. Russia hit a maternity hospital and residential buildings, killing and injuring civilians. It rejects peace, so it must face consequences. No more waiting. Yeah, Andriy Sybiha, the foreign minister out of Ukraine, calling for action, calling on the West to start hitting Russia with these sanctions. Why are they allowing Russia to just repeatedly slam drones into civilians' homes inside of Ukraine, killing innocent people, injuring dozens, sometimes even young children are being killed in these attacks. I mean, it's absolutely horrible, guys, what Russia's doing to Ukraine. and the West just sitting back and basically doing nothing right now. And especially Donald Trump, he's been waiting and waiting for weeks now, and he keeps coming out every couple weeks saying, "Oh, I'll let you guys know in about 2 weeks what we're going to do about Russia. Are we going to sanction them?" And just what is taking so long, and how much more evidence do we need to see that Russia does not want to end this war? And on top of that, they're just consistently killing civilians. And if you guys notice, Trump's not really coming out and commenting on this war no more. He's been very silent over the last few days. Now from Drone Bomber, he's got a map here showing the trajectory of these drones entering into Russia last night. So now we'll talk about what happened to Russia with the drone attacks. So it says approximate flight routes of our UAVs, red arrow, direction of loitering munitions, strike UAVs. All information regarding the routes is taken from Russian sources. So here's the drones that were entering into Russia last night. You can see a lot of them, again, going the same direction towards Moscow up here. But primarily, we're going to talk about the Republic of Tatarstan, which is going to be over here. If you guys can see, it says Kazan here. We actually talked about this republic yesterday as the city of Kazan was coming under attack, and potentially we had a gunpowder facility that was destroyed over there. At least that's what was being reported. Preliminary reports yesterday were indicating that. So you can see a lot of drones entering into Russia up here, some going down to Crimea. And I think also we had a Magura V5 naval drones attacking Crimea down here yesterday as well. So now from Visioner, due to the Ukrainian kamikaze drone attack, Nukovo, Domodedovo, Sheremetyevo, and Zhukovsky airports in Moscow have been temporarily closed. As a result, dozens of airliners were forced to turn back or change their course. Yeah, so apparently we had a lot of airliners being shut down across Moscow. So it looks like a lot of these drones were able to prevent a lot of these flights from taking off. Once again, this is something we've seen with Ukraine whenever they attack Moscow. A lot of the airports get shut down. We have long lines at the airports, people trying to get out. Looks like that was the case again over the last 24 hours. Now, for more translated, there was no calm in Russia either. Some unknown drones carried out an attack on a Shahed drone production facility in Tatarstan, okay? So this is in the city of Yelabuga. We had drones entering over here in the Republic of Tatarstan, probably about 1,000, maybe 1,200 kilometers away from the border of Ukraine, going after a drone production facility. Take a look at this video. Alright, so what we're watching in this video is the Russians attempting to shoot down Ukrainian drones that were entering into the area. It looks like one time right here they tried to attempt to shoot it down. I'm not sure if that was the same interception attempt, but for sure in the second video that we're watching here, when they tried to shoot down that drone, it was unsuccessful, and that drone just kept continuing on, heading to where it was supposed to be going. And as far as we know, it was attacking a drone production facility. Here's a report here from Max 25. Drones attacked Alabuga SEZ again this morning. The Synergy buildings 13.2 and 13.3, where engines and housings for Russian drones are assembled, were hit, according to Dnipro Ozent. We are waiting for satellite images or footage. Yeah, so we don't have complete confirmation yet, but allegedly, according to some open source intelligence on X, we have a facility that was being targeted. I believe it should be this red one here. And apparently, according to this information, several buildings were being hit by Ukrainian drones. And this was a production facility used for building drones. Okay, so some of these Shahed drones that you're used to attack Ukraine, just like what we had going into Kyiv last night and also Odessa. Here's a video now from Ukraine front line. Yelabuga, Tatarstan, smoke near a drone factory detected. So there was some sort of major explosion over here. Looks like something was hit and exploded, possibly due to Ukrainian drones entering this area in the city of Yelabuga in the Republic of Tatarstan. Take a look at this.
Нихуя себе!
Это пролет был или, блядь?
Нихуя себе!
So we can see in this video pretty massive explosion. It looks like something detonated over here. And if this was a Shaheed warehouse, maybe they had a lot of these warheads stored in there and it was blown up, is what I'm thinking. But aside from that, I'm not sure exactly what blew up over here. We're still waiting for official confirmation on what exactly it was that was hit. But from some of the reports, just like what we had there from Max 25, there was a Shaheed drone facility warehouse that was being attacked and possibly even hit. So now from Raging 545, it is being reported that Ukrainian forces have struck Russian troop concentrations at the rear near Melitopol, Berdyansk, and occupied Kherson region. The strikes appear to have been successful at hospitals in the region are reportedly being filled with wounded Russian soldiers. So down here in the occupied Kherson region, okay, southern Ukraine, where the Russians are at, apparently Ukraine's been carrying out some strikes down here, kind of in this area. I know this map is really hard to see. I'm sorry, guys. But there's some information here that was popping up on Telegram as well. This is in Russian, but they had it translated into English here, and I want to read this to you. Attack of the Russian rear in the occupation, good news. The Russians confirmed through their channels that the defense forces struck Melitopol, Berdyansk, and the Pologovsko-Rozhivska agglomeration during the day. At the same time, the information is officially suppressed. At the same time, we are recording the daily filings of hospitals in Rozhivka, Berdyansk, Mangush, Nikolsk, and both hospitals in Mariupol with seriously wounded Russians. All of them are from Polohivsk, which doctors describe as hell. Therefore, the Russian offensive in Zaporizhzhia region has de facto begun. But thanks to us, the defense forces have not only no hint, of success, but sometimes do not have time to bring the stormtroopers to the point of beginning. Hence the COI about Dnipropetrovsk region. According to the plan, there were supposed to be events, but in fact, read above. So what this information is talking about is Ukraine's been carrying out some major strikes over here in the south, possibly in the Zaporizhzhia and Kherson regions. And many of the hospitals down there are starting to fill up with wounded Russian soldiers because Ukraine has carried out very direct strikes on groups of Russian soldiers, possibly even training grounds down there, and probably even dozens or maybe hundreds of them being wounded and ending up in the hospitals, and the doctors are describing it as hell. So that doesn't sound good for Russia. It looks like they're taking massive losses over there in the southern side of Ukraine. Now for military news UA, at least 12 regions of Russia have begun fining citizens for publishing information about the consequences of Ukrainian drone strikes, according to Astra publication. Yeah, so apparently a lot of these videos that we get coming out, like on X here and Telegram and whatnot, these are Russian citizens that are recording these strikes, just like this one that happened yesterday on this facility in the Republic of Tatarstan as well. I think this was it was right next door in the Republic of Chuvashia. And we had a city called Cheboksary or something like that. And this was another defense plant that was being attacked by a Ukrainian drone, and they produce Shaheed antennas, okay, so for navigation on the Shaheed drones. And we had direct strikes on this facility numerous times, and apparently a lot of the citizens are now being fined if the government is able to find out who's recording these videos. They do not want this information getting out that Ukraine is smashing these defense facilities, oil depots, and whatnot all over Russia. Now from Ukrainian Review, Ukraine is working to receive military aid from the U.S. even after President Biden's legacy ends, according to Minister of Foreign Affairs spokesman Kyiv. There is an active conversation with the Americans about purchasing weapons, in particular within the framework of the investment fund, he said. Okay, so according to the Minister of Foreign Affairs spokesman Kyiv out of Ukraine, he's stating that the Ukraine is trying to get more military aid from the U.S. as what we're hearing is potentially over the next month or so, all the weapons that were supplied to Ukraine under the Biden administration is about to run out. And we just had a Ukrainian delegation last week in Washington meeting with the U.S. officials to try to gain more military aid. That's the main reason why they went over there, also to share intelligence about their strike on the airfields and whatnot with Operation Spider's Web. So they're trying to get more weapons from the U.S. as the U.S. is basically not going to hand over any weapons to Ukraine anymore unless they get payment, and Ukraine wants to pay the U.S. for some weapons. So we're waiting on some reports on that to see if Ukraine's going to be able to get anything from the U.S. Now for Max 25, EU to target Nord Stream and Russian oil production with new sanctions package, according to Financial Times. The package would include lowering the existing oil price cap from $60 to $45 per barrel, as well as banning the use of Russian energy infrastructure, including two Nord Stream pipelines. The sources said that the proposal would also include a list of additional Russian banks and shadow fleet vessels. Here's a report today: EU to target Nord Stream and Russian oil cap in new sanctions package. Commission is due to present its 18th package of measures against Moscow on Tuesday. Yeah, so we should be hearing more about this today, but these are just some of the details. Like, they want to lower the price cap of Russian oil from $60 to $45 a barrel. That should massively hurt Russia's economy. On top of that, oil prices already been dropping across the world. I think yesterday I saw it at like $65 a barrel. It's come up a little bit. It was hovering around 60, 62 for several weeks now, but it's come up to 65 as of like the last 24 hours when I checked. So, Russia's losing a lot of money right now as they can't sell oil at high prices. That's making it harder for them to fund this war. But clearly, Russia's still finding ways to fund it because they're still fighting Ukraine right now. So we're going to hear more about these sanctions coming from the EU here very soon. Now for Max 25, Ukrainian aviation drops precision bombs on a building with Russian soldiers in the village of Tyatkino in the Kursk region. Now, this is a city that's been just hammered by Ukraine recently. There's so many videos coming out like this showing Ukraine carrying out airstrikes over here. I mean, look at all these buildings just leveled. Tyatkino is starting to look like what happens inside of Ukraine when the Russians attack into cities over there. Ukraine is just leveling the city to the ground. There's Russian soldiers fighting over here, trying to hold the Ukrainians back. And for what we keep hearing, that these Russian soldiers over here are completely surrounded, and they're not willing to surrender. So Ukraine's been carrying out numerous airstrikes over here, destroying buildings that supposedly have Russians inside of them, even many times. Now, from Ukrainian Review, Zelenskyy: we can mobilize 27,000 people per month, and the Russians can mobilize 40 to 50,000 because their losses are greater. My main dream is a country that lives in peace. I have no other dream, no other plan. This is what I really want. Peace. Peace. I am convinced that Ukraine, with the help of the world, will be rebuilt. There is nothing more important, says Zelenskyy. Yeah, so I believe Zelenskyy was in another interview today. There's a few different statements coming out from him. Like, he states here that they can only mobilize 27,000 people per month, at least right now. And Russia's mobilizing 40 to 50,000. So clearly the Russians are mobilizing more, but at the same time, they're taking heavy losses, okay? So now for NOAA reports. In Istanbul, Russians told our delegation, we know our memorandum is an ultimatum and you won't accept it. We're fighting a situation that could very well look like a transition to World War III, Zelenskyy stated. This was apparently another thing he said in an interview today. That he believes that, this war could transition to World War III, and I definitely agree with that. It could happen. Hopefully it doesn't ever, and I'm sure most of you out there would not want this to transition into World War III, but could it happen? Yes, it definitely could. Anything is really possible in this war right now, as things are just absolutely getting out of control and have been for several weeks now. But also in terms of the Istanbul talks between Ukraine and Russia negotiating on peace, apparently the Russians told Ukraine that this was an ultimatum that they gave them. They gave them a list of demands and whatnot. Ukraine did the same thing. Russia hasn't even responded to their proposal. And the proposal that Russia gave to Ukraine was literally a list of demands and an ultimatum to Ukraine to capitulate and surrender to Russia, is what we saw from that report. Now from Bliskovka again, it's not the first time, but before they solved it quietly among themselves. Zelenskyy on the scandal with Hungarian intelligence in the Zakarpattia region. According to him, Budapest tried to interfere in Ukraine's internal affairs in dozens of ways. Why was it necessary to look for our vulnerabilities in the Ukrainian-Hungarian border region? Why did the Hungarians need information about where we deployed the S-300 air defense systems there? They were interested in that, the president said. Yeah, so apparently Zelenskyy was commenting on this whole scandal that happened, what was it, like about a month or two ago, if you guys remember that. I reported that there was 2 Hungarian spies that were captured inside of Ukraine in the Transcarpathian region, which is this region they're talking about here, Zakarpattia. And yeah, apparently these 2 men were gathering intelligence of where Ukraine had their air defenses at, and apparently they were working on behalf of the Hungarian government, and they were captured and arrested. So Ukraine was accusing Hungary of spying on them and trying to figure out where their air defense systems were at and vulnerabilities and whatnot. Why would Hungary be doing that? And then yesterday, if you guys remember, I showed you a clip of Viktor Orban right here, the prime minister of Hungary. And all of a sudden, in an interview, he was stating that Russia would never be able to attack NATO because Russia's weak. They can't even take Ukraine, which is a complete 180 because we know Viktor Orban is pro Russia. So, weird circumstances coming out here from Hungary recently. Now, for Max 25, Western partners list the reasons why they did not dare to impose new sanctions on Russia. Among the reasons that Ukraine has not been mobilizing since the age of 18 plus, says Zelenskyy. Now, that seems ridiculous to me. Why would Zelenskyy need to mobilize, young men the age of 18 plus just to get sanctions onto Russia? Like, Russia should be sanctioned already just for attacking Ukraine, and heavily sanctioned, in my opinion, excuse me, for doing so. And apparently a large reason why a lot of Western partners don't want to sanction Russia right now, according to Zelenskyy, is because he's not willing to mobilize young men the age of 18 plus. I think right now they have it set to around 25. They could have lowered it a little bit to like 23, something like that. But as far as I knew, it was somewhere around 25 and nowhere close to 18. And Zelenskyy doesn't want to mobilize a bunch of young people to fight this war. So pretty crazy if that happens to be the case. Now for Max 25, 52% of Ukrainians are categorically against any territorial concessions, even if the war drags on, according to KIIS. Excuse me. So a new poll out of Ukraine. 52% of Ukrainians are against any territorial concessions. Okay, that's even if this war continues on, they don't want to give up any territorial gains to the Russians. Okay, and Russia, that's one of their major demands. They're calling on Ukraine and saying, hey, just give up these territories to us. That includes like Luhansk, Donetsk, Zaporizhzhia region, Kherson regions. Russia wants full control over all of those, even though they don't control the entirety of them. And that was a condition for them. If Ukraine wants to end the war, they were telling them just back away from those regions, give them up, and we'll end the war with you. And Ukraine is saying no, we will not do that. We'll continue fighting. So apparently, 52% of Ukrainians are supportive of not giving up territory to Ukraine or to Russia. Excuse me. Now from next to Israel denies delivering Patriot systems to Ukraine. Israel's foreign ministry has officially rejected claims made by its ambassador to Ukraine, Michael Brodsky, who told Bulgarian media that Jerusalem had supplied Ukraine with Patriot air defense systems. In response to Ynet inquiry, the ministry stated, these statements are not accurate. Israel has not transferred Patriot systems to Ukraine. According to reports, Russia has requested clarifications regarding Brodsky's remarks. Yeah, so if you guys remember that report yesterday, Michael Brodsky, who's an ambassador to Ukraine, came out in an interview and was stating that Israel supposedly sent at least one of these Patriot missile batteries over to Ukraine, and potentially maybe several. He didn't state how many that Israel had sent to Ukraine. Now their foreign ministry is coming out saying, no, this is not true. So what's going on over here? Did Ukraine receive some of these, or did they not? Did they not? Now, something I do want to note is recently, many of the missiles going into Ukraine have been shot down. Now, I'm not saying that these are being shot down by Israeli Patriot missile batteries that were being sent over there, but Ukraine has been a lot better recently, over the past maybe week or so, 2 weeks maybe, of shooting down a lot of these incoming missiles. Okay, so like a good majority of them, if not all of them, many nights are being downed. So is that possibly why? Because Ukraine is receiving these Patriot systems. Ukraine hasn't really come out and commented on that yet, at least from what I've seen. But Israel now coming out with their foreign ministry today stating that they did not send these to Ukraine. So you guys can let me know what you think on that. Now for Max 25, Ukrainian air defense shot down 276 out of 315 Russian drones, 2 out of 2 KN-22 ballistic missiles, 5 out of 5 Iskander-K cruise missiles. P.S. There was a lot of debris falling after the drones and missiles were shot down in 16 different locations. Okay, so you can see Ukraine did bring down a good majority of them, but for sure at least about 50 or so were not shot down, and many of these clearly slamming into Odessa and Kyiv last night. I'd estimate at least 20 plus strikes just in Kyiv and Odessa alone, as we saw so much damage being reported. But you notice here some North Korean ballistic missiles being fired here, 2 KN-22s and 5 Iskander-K cruise missiles. Okay, so looks like all those were shot down, and that's what I'm talking about. Lately, we've been seeing a lot of these missiles being downed. Okay, that they're not striking inside of Ukraine as much, as we just had a report. Was it just yesterday that we had airfields inside of Ukraine that were under attack? There was like 4 Kinzhal hypersonic missiles that were fired into the Rivne region yesterday, and Ukraine supposedly downed all of them. So, while Ukraine is stating that, we need air defenses, at the same time, they've been really doing good at destroying a lot of these missiles. You guys can let me know what you think. Does Ukraine have more Patriot systems now, or potentially other types of air defense systems that are very accurate at downing these missiles that they didn't have before, just in like the last month or so? Now, from Kyiv Independent, these are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of June 10th, according to the armed forces of Ukraine. In our final update of the day, Russia's losses as of June 10th: 960 troops, 9 AFVs, 107 vehicles and fuel tanks, 4 tanks, 48 artillery systems, 239 UAVs, 1 MLRS, 2 planes, and 15 cruise missiles, and also 1 special equipment. Okay, so see, yesterday they shot down a good majority of the missiles. I think there was somewhere around 20, and if you see, 15 of them were shot down. So they're definitely bringing down a lot of them right now compared to just a few months back. Many of these would strike inside of Ukraine. So it's pretty crazy to see that. Then we have these 2 planes supposedly being confirmed destroyed at the Savas-Leka airfield yesterday. I think it was a MiG-31K and also potentially Su-30 or Su-34 that was allegedly destroyed over there or damaged due to a Ukrainian drone attack. We reported on that yesterday. So aside from that, not a whole lot being destroyed on this side of the column over here. Just really not a big numbers here, about average what we've been seeing overall across the board. No major spikes or fluctuations in these numbers here. But guys, I want to thank you so much for being here for today's update on June 10th, 2025, and hanging out to the end of this video with me if you're still here. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. And thank you so much for tuning in for this update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless. And we'll see you in the next one.